I know you belong to somebody new, but tonight you belong to me, just little old me. Hi, Todd Dammit Kerns here. Today, brought to you by my good friends at Lanakai Ukuleles. Look at this little beauty, huh? Sounds good too. Today, my very dear friend Tony Cardenas-Montana from the heyday of Great White at their biggest, when you remember them back in the day with the Once Bitten and the Twice Shy and all that great stuff. He now plays in Jack Russell's Great White, but he has an amazing new band called Shadow and the Thrill, which you should immediately check out. He's an amazing vocalist, an amazing guitar player, and an amazing bass player. I hate him. Just kidding. I'm so jealous of him. But he filled in for me. He covered for me almost 11 years ago now on the first We're All Gonna Die Slash tour. I had a detached retina right here. And he went out for 6 weeks all across Asia and I think into Australia and nailed it. I thought for sure I'd lost the gig, but he's a wonderful guy. I love Tony. He's the best. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Cardenas-Montana. I know you. Just keep going. Boom.
Okay.
Live. We're live. There's no escaping it now, man. We're in. Are you trying to cover the demon on your right shoulder? If you lean back,
there's not an angel on the other shoulder, just a demon on that shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. You should have put like Frank Domino from the band Angel on that shoulder.
Shit, dude. Don't go there. Not with Angel. Don't go with Angel. They're on my label, and my guy, the label guy.
Yeah.
Is the keyboardist for Angel.
You mean Greg Giuffria or?
Well, he's the guy that does the Greg Giuffria, takes that spot. And it's funny, as a kid, I had that album. And I was like, wow, check. I mean, the whole packaging of it and the logo and all that.
Dude, the cool thing about the logo, I don't know. I wish I had one here because I've got vinyl.
Flip it upside down, and it read the same way.
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same in this way, and then you turned it upside down. Whoever thought of that was a genius.
So I told this guy, I said, Charlie, if we cross paths out there on the road, I want to sit in. I'm going to sit in.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of songs. They had a great couple of tracks off the big album, White Hot.
Do you have
Suspicion is
yeah,
that's a great track.
Do you have an entire white outfit you can wear for the evening?
No.
Because that's their shtick. You got to wear all white. I would just be so terrified of all the mustard stains from the backstage deli tray before I went on. Oh, crap. You go on stage,
yeah, man.
Ketchup everywhere, barbecue sauce. Oh, man. But there's a lot of bleach on the rider, so there's just in case something bad happens to your clothes.
They had a thing.
They still have a thing. I think it's still the same thing with the white outfits. Yeah. So how you been, brother man? I'm sorry.
Still Frank and Funky. All good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm glad I could jump on, and I might unplug here and take you guys out for a little stroll.
Where are you?
I'm in Manhattan Beach.
Oh, nice, California, baby. Let's go all the way there. You're born and raised in California, yes?
Yes, sir.
Whereabouts?
Orange County.
Orange County, right?
So you're born in LA County, but I lived in Orange County all my life.
So you're basically You're basically in the same hood as you grew up in, kinda.
It's so ridiculously large here. It's so big here. It's when you fly in at night, as well as I do, it just goes and goes. It's It's really amazing. People have to come here to see it. It's experience it. It's something else.
So do you use John Wayne Airport as your airport?
I'd love to. It's my favorite airport in the world.
I've never done John Wayne. It's always LAX or Burbank.
It is the nicest airport I've ever been to.
Is that right?
Tiny,
That's nice.
Tiny and super posh, and very Orange County.
Where is it located exactly? Where is John Wayne Airport? This is the most important thing we're going to talk about today. Where John Wayne? Yeah.
John Wayne Airport is right off of the coast, off of Newport Beach.
Okay.
But it's actually in Santa Ana. So it's literally called Santa Ana.
Okay.
SNA is the other call letters for it. But that's the kind of thing that guys like us are used to doing, and we're used to flying into DFW and going through ATL and
Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, San Francisco. I know it's all the same hub cities.
There you go.
So what?
We live by call letters.
Exactly. Yeah, and you start to know them all. And the most important one is YYZ. You have to say Z because it's Canadian.
Dude, it's weird. Oh, YYZ. It's weird when you don't even think about it. You walk away from your gate, you know exactly where to go to get something to eat. You just
I know.
Trudge around. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think people really take that into account when you're in Detroit and you know where the Carl's Jr. is or something like that at the airport. Very normal.
Yeah, that's our normal.
That's our normal.
It hasn't been, but it's gonna be.
That's true. Speaking of which,
it's coming back. So yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm out of here on the 6th to Houston with my band Shadow just last Saturday. So things are picking up, and we're getting ready to start moving along.
That's exciting to see, because I've been paying attention to my friends that are, doing stuff, because I mostly been locked in studios and stuff like that. So when I see that you have stuff going on, and a bunch of my other friends that are doing stuff, the Corey Taylor Band's about to do a bunch of dates. I'm like, well, that's exciting, because it means things are slowly opening up.
Little by little.
Yeah. From my lips to God's ears. Let's hope that's the case anyway.
Yeah.
So how old are you when you find music? I mean, are you raised with a relatively large family, or are you just a couple of you? How does that work?
Just a sister and I, and nobody in my family was musically really inclined. Nobody in my, I just had my mom and dad, my sister and I, and nobody was particularly musically inclined. My cousins played a little bit. My one cousin has a beautiful 60s ES-335 that used to let me, as a little child, bang on. I used to think, wow. I look back down like, oh my God, I would have let that kid near that thing. But that was one of my first experiences. Boy, that was, it's what a beautiful instrument to put your hands on for the first time. And then, as a kid, just started picking up everything I could make music on.
Yeah.
And then I was one of those, I just actually went to this school the other day to get my second COVID shot. It's a community college here, Mount San Antonio College. And I used to go there. They used to send me there as a child because I was weird.
Wow.
And
because you're weird. Was it a weird community college? Or
weird. It's for all the weirdo kids. They send you to go to community college and learn how to play chess and play piano. Yeah, It was weird. It was like some weird, thing for, the nerds. And
I like that.
Yeah, you got it. That's the best. That's what you want as a child.
I was going to say, I think I would have fared better in that, like rather than football and all that kind of stuff. I probably would have been like, yeah, let's go play chess and piano or whatever. Yeah.
That's what everybody. That's what you want as a kid. I think about it now. You want to be singled out in class, stand up. All the nerds stand up, And now that you're identified, come out and go do something. And it was just the most terrifying thing. But anyway, so that's what I used to do. I went to learn how to play piano, and in this college, community college thing. But hey, started playing everything, and he can't get my hands on. So, but I like. I lost you.
You're there. It's just the
Okay.
It's just the internet. That's the beauty of the risks, and the great part of this whole entire endeavor of during lockdown is weird conversations with your family, like, I lost you, hang on, come back, move to the other room, are you close to the router, that whole thing is like, Jesus. But that's great. So how old
I'm right on top of the button.
Good. Well, how old were you when you started playing piano then?
I was like 8.
Oh, okay. So just a kid.
Guitar, just picking up everything at one time. Yeah.
Great.
And just really, then I started bugging my dad. I had a math book.
Wow.
It had the math book, and it had a bunch of instruments on the front of it, and they were all like measured out in meters and inches and what. And the one in the back of the picture was badass. I was like, Dad, what is that? It was a Fender P bass.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my dad, I want one of those. That looks cool, right? So, to his chagrin, he bought me a 6-string instead. He didn't realize what he was doing. And, as soon as I got a hold of that, it was all over. Shit.
Of course. What kind of guitar was it?
It was a JVC Balladeer.
Interesting.
And, yeah, it was actually quite a little instrument. It was like a little Strat kind of knockoff. It was homely looking little guitar, but it had a tremola.
Yeah.
And a couple of single coils. Now I know what they are, right? And it was a really wonderful little instrument. I wish I could have it back.
Right. It's always sad because those of us with our first guitars. I don't have my first guitar. In fact, it's went somewhere over the years. I don't know, but I wish I kind of had it too.
I can tell you exactly what happened to mine.
Uh-oh.
One of my best, I was playing with my little band,
Right.
And my best friend, one of my best friend, his name's Greg Roubaix. One of my best friends, Greg. He decides to come over for the first time. His parents bring him over because they want to meet me. They want to meet my parents,
Sure.
And so they pull up in this beautiful white Cadillac Eldorado, beautiful car, white with red interior, gorgeous, brand new.
Wow.
As they're pulling up into the driveway, I've got me and a bunch of my goofball friends, and I'm smashing this instrument against the wall. You should see my buddy's mom's eyes were like,
yeah, I bet.
What the? You're not going to hang out with this guy. Poor thing.
The guitar smasher. That's what
keep coming from.
That's rock and roll, I guess. You learn to play the guitar, you smash the guitar. Yeah, that's part of the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't very good at it. I got mad.
So how long is it before you start putting bands?
I wish I had it.
How long is it before you start putting bands together with your friends and making racket?
Oh, 10, 11.
Oh, you're that young. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Come into the garage and we start making noise, and 11, 12, right around there. And then, the junior high school, that age.
Right.
And that's when I first played in front of anybody, was in junior high school.
Sure, yeah. Where was that at? Like the talent show or something like that?
Talent show.
Yeah. Like
man, come on. I'm sure you've been there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was like, okay, we're doing this. Tell my friends we're doing this. We're going to do my song.
Oh, you were
already there.
You're writing songs already?
I was already there.
Wow. Okay. So
I was already that jackass. Yes.
Do you remember that song?
My tune. And here we go. Yes. Yes, I do.
What was it called? What was it called?
And because there was no singing, it was just called the instrumental. That's what we called it. And get this,
Wow.
I was like, okay, we're going to have a show. Okay. So I actually made my own dry ice machine,
What?
fog machine. I did. I made this fog machine, and I had a roadie guy. I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This part of the song, you drop in the dry ice, turn on the fan, and then we had the dude, it had the whole thing. And so I'm playing. Bad. I'm sorry. I apologize, man. But
That's all right.
the teacher rounded up some kids, and he turned it, and he taught them the opening, 2 minutes of Stairway to Heaven, and they played like with flutes and the whole school band played.
Wow.
They won.
Of course. Yeah. That's
okay.
It's rock and roll, but
I
it's
was more punk rock, dude. I was more punk rock.
Exactly. But they're playing rock and roll with lutes and flutes, so they kind of win. I understand.
I took it in stride.
Yeah, it's what you could do. It's only up from there, right?
Right.
So how long is it before you're like, I guess you got to finish high school. Did you go like right from high school into playing in bands and like playing like showcases and local shows and all that kind of stuff?
I started playing the strip when I was 15.
Is that right? Wow.
So a couple of years later, we were out there. Yeah, my dad was taking me into Gazzari's.
Wow.
Because that was the place, because I'd seen these places on TV, and I said, we should go there. I told my buddies, a bunch of older guys I was playing with, said, we should go here and play.
Totally.
And so my dad would go with me, and we'd go to the Sunset Strip, and I'd take my little guitar and, go play those gigs. Funny enough, the one of the shows that I was covering for you.
Yes.
With Slash.
Yeah.
Was at a venue called the Key Club.
That's right.
Which is something else now, but the Key Club is the former site of Gazzari's.
I know. I'm still not accustomed to that. Whenever I talk about the strip, I always say Gazzari's, and then it's Gil Turner. Yeah. You're like, everybody goes like, oh, I'm like, well, it's called something else now, but it'll always be Gazzari's to me, because the Key Club was a different building, right? It wasn't the same building as Gazzari's, was it? Was it a complete rebuild? I can't really remember.
I can't remember. It's pretty much about the same size. It
seemed
like
it.
Wall, right? Like that same big wall, where they shot, part of the Huey Lewis Hard Rock and Roll video was shot in that.
I didn't know that.
Lot. So I think it pretty much was the same.
I didn't even know that. Wow. Yeah. The first club I ever went to when I went to Hollywood was, I always tell this story. It was a Tuesday night or something, and I'm in Hollywood. I'm like, I don't even think I was 21. I don't remember how this, but I remember thinking like, I'm going to go to Hollywood and watch a real Hollywood Sunset Strip rock band, and I'm going to have my mind blown. And it's a Tuesday, and it's probably it's like one of the worst bands I've ever seen. Like just some high school kids, and I'm like, this is the famous Hollywood Sunset Strip. That
was my band.
Yeah.
We were awful. We were terrible.
No, never. It was just but it was kind of an eye opener as far as like, because you think you're going to go to the Strip and see Van Halen at every different club, every single night of the week, but that's just not the case. No.
Well, what happened, during the whole 80s, glut of people coming to LA to try to be in the center of the music business and try to get signed and all that stuff, is that, that the real true science of pay to play was developed. And so it turned into any band that's willing to, throw the money down gets to play. So
yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that actually was the practice in place, was that you paid to get a spot to play. How did that work? They gave you tickets, and it was up to you to sell your tickets, and you might make your money back. You probably won't. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically like you say.
At first, it was like that.
Yeah.
At first, but then they said, you're gonna buy these tickets up front now.
Buy
You
tickets
buy
up front.
them up front, and you sell them, great. You don't sell them, whatever. so the real important difference is that the gatekeeper, there was no gatekeeper anymore, and that the owners of the Whiskey and the Roxy are no longer purveyors of talent. They just were,
Right.
you know, time bookers.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So there was no bar.
way back when.
Yeah. There was no bar to kind of overcome. It was just like, if you had the money, you can play here, kind of thing.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
how it worked. That's
Yeah.
how it worked.
Well, that's how I played there. When we came down from Canada, we just booked ourselves a slot at the Whiskey and a slot at the Roxy. I don't even know what it cost, but I mean, we just came down and played our showcases in front of some record labels, and then we went back to Canada. You know, it was like, so,
Really?
yeah, like in 19.
Well, at least you had a reason, and you know, so you knew somebody, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
most of the people that were doing it were just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they're just from around here, and they were close. They had, you know, it's accessible. It's
Yeah.
a proximity thing.
Of course.
But that doesn't
yeah,
mean that they should be playing. You know,
But-
so.
And I guess
But,
the intention is
and
basically,
there's still some great songs.
yeah, and you're playing in Hollywood and there's record labels everywhere, and you assume that hopefully you'll just keep playing till you build an audience, and then eventually it gets enough noise that somebody from Geffen or wherever comes down and watches your band and goes, "You guys are great. I'm gonna here's $1 gazillion. Go make a record and become stars." You know. And sometimes that happened.
It happened many times.
It did. It did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen Poison play in front of a little bar here in Orange County for, you know, 4 people. 4 girls.
Yeah.
Probably their girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've done those gigs. We've all done those gigs. That's the way.
Sure.
How you cut your teeth.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to play.
100%.
You know, get your 10,000 hours in, man.
Exactly. So how is it? I mean, is there a band that at that point that you sort of slide into that becomes sort of your band, your calling card, the one that you kind of thought was going to be the one that took you to, you know, prior to your time with Great White? Was there like an actual lineup of a band or whatever that was your band that was the one that you thought was going to be it?
The one that seemed to be kind of the most professional, like leveling up, was a band called Mutiny.
Okay. It's a good name.
And we were in the business of playing these shows and getting kids to come to these shows, and we were doing decent business, you know.
Sure.
We were bringing folks in, and we even opened for Great White at some of the bigger venues that Great White was playing.
Wow.
Which was my first show that I ever played where I was like, wow, like this is the real deal.
Yeah.
You know, like 800 people or something, where it just feels like there's this critical mass of people where you're like, okay, this is not just a bunch of people. It's like a thing. It's like its own animal.
Right. An event. Yeah.
That was it.
Where was that gig with Great White?
It was called. I did a couple with Mutiny opening for Great White. It was called the Pomona Valley Auditorium.
I remember that place.
It was like a big theater, like
Mm-hmm.
you know.
I've never been there, but I've heard that name before for sure.
Yeah, it was around for a while, and you know, at that time, you know, I was already a Great White fan.
Right.
And they had already had their time at what's the label? I can't remember the name of the label.
Yeah, you're right. They had a whole chapter where they were already signed and dropped or whatever before they kind of went.
This was in the valley, right? And they're coming back. And I was a big fan of the band. I mean, always loved Jack's voice.
Oh yeah. So did you make a connection with those guys back in those days, or did you actually really not know them at all?
I didn't. Not at that time. But then I started teaching a lot, and I had you know, and I ended up at a music store out in that area, and the guy, one of the guys that used to work with the band a lot, his name is Stephen Williams.
Okay.
Who co-wrote "Save Your Love," which was one of Great White's bigger hits. a friend of mine, he worked at the same store. He was a sales guy, and they were always really good to me. And one day it came up, I was teaching bass and guitar, and I was like this full classical music shredder dude.
Right.
Right. Back in that day, I was, studying that in college. And so I had a bunch of students, and they said, you should play bass. You should try for Great White. They need a guy right now. I'm like, that sounds good to me.
Hell
Right now is exactly what I wanted.
So up to that point, though, like
yeah.
in Mutiny and all that, you were the guitar player, yes?
Yes.
But you weren't the lead vocalist?
No.
Wow, dude, it's so funny to hear that, because everybody always says the same thing. Like even recently when I started talking about Shadow and the Thrill, people are like, they go and check it out and they're like, dude, I had no idea Tony could sing like that. And it's like, yeah, I know, because everybody goes, yeah, Tony, you remember the videos back in the day, and you're the kid with the great hair, still has great hair.
Hey.
But and it's like, how is that guy not the lead singer of everything? You know what I mean? But I think it's interesting that, when you get a gig like Great White or whatever, I'm assuming that's a big plus, that you can carry harmonies and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. That was, I'm sure it was a big factor for me, nailing down that gig. But, but I don't know where, I obviously, you're an awesome singer as well. And
well, thank you.
And I'm sure every time when you're playing, if you were a kid, and playing in bands, if you just wanted to play guitar, you knew to keep your mouth shut. Because as soon as you open your mouth and sing something, they're like, oh, hey, you should be the singer. And you're like,
now you have all the responsibility, and you got to talk to the audience, and you got to take care of your voice, all that.
Just want to play guitar.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just want to play guitar.
So
now you got to sing.
I know. What was the audition like with Great White? What did that entail exactly? And what was it? Was it weird for you to transition to bass? But you were already teaching bass, so I guess it was kind of,
I was such a, I dove full into college studying classical music and composition, and
right.
And so to me, it's treble clef, bass clef. It's it's just music, whatever. And
to me, that's just Greek. I don't even know what the hell that is, but I'm glad you can get around it.
And from a tactile perspective, it's a different techniques, but it's just techniques. And so I would just rip on guitar, I pick up a bass, and rip on bass, and just you're so determined. You're gonna figure them all out. So yeah, when it came to that, I was ready to play whatever.
Do you remember where the audition was? Do you remember where that occurred?
Oh yeah. Oh, very well.
Where?
Very well. I remember this much. I didn't have a really good bass, so I borrowed one.
Okay.
From the music.
Sure. When you're at a music store, you can borrow a good one. Yeah.
You can borrow.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know that you're borrowing that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, I see what you did. Okay. Yeah.
So and I learned the parts and stuff. And one of the funny, anecdotes is we started playing Rock Me, right? Which is
wow. Okay, so
very it's cool. It's actually a wonderful bass line.
It's great, yeah.
And it's very bass centric song for the most part. And so I'm playing this thing, and I'm like a full music nerd. I have charted this thing out to the nuts, right?
Oh wow, okay.
So I walked in with charts, and I've got the charts there, and I'm like, playing along, and they're playing it, and then I went, stop. You guys are playing it wrong.
Wow, good first impression.
Yeah, you guys are playing it wrong. I thought for sure they're going to tell you to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Punk. What do you know?
It's our song. Yeah.
I'm showing the part. I know, no, you're playing it wrong.
Really?
And sure as shit, they were playing a different version of the video version of the song, not the album version. I'm like, I've got it all charted right here, and you're playing it wrong.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, wow. we're playing it wrong.
Amazing.
Yeah, so there you go.
What is this, at Mates or
You know what?
something?
And
Where was this? No,
still getting problems, man. I apologize.
no problem at all. Did you where was that audition? Mates or SIR or at
It was actually right here down the street in South Bay in Southern California. It was as close to the studio Total Access where we made the albums. You know, where they made Once Bitten and Twice Shy and Hooked, and
Great.
it's a little studio right here in Redondo Beach, which and that's how I got introduced to this area, was through the band. I'd never been out here before, but now here I am again. Shit, I'm maybe living out here. I like it. It's nice. It's a nice.
It's awesome out there. Yeah. Where were those guys from? Where were the Great White guys from?
Jack was from Whittier, which is San Gabriel Valley, which is basically kind of it's interesting. I mean, we talk about this too. And I got this book back from my kid, Outliers. You know, the phenomena of a certain area, and that being, I think, L.A., but maybe San Gabriel Valley in particular, where guys like from Motley Crue came from, and Van Halen came from. You just named a bunch of cats from that era. Kind of, it all was boiling in there. And that, how did that happen? Why that area? Why that time period? Whatever. Mark Kendall, I think, was living in Huntington Beach, where I've lived for past 30 years or whatever.
Sure.
Lardy is from Sacramento, I think.
Okay.
And Audie Desbro is, again, from, I saw Audie around town, before he got a Great White, in the Whittier, San Gabriel Valley area. So it's an interesting thing. And, all of us in that area look to Van Halen as like, they did it.
Yeah.
They got out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was next after that? When you say you looked at Van Halen, is it like Motley Crue is the next one? I mean, I'm wondering or I suppose Quiet Riot to some degree, but
Quiet Riot, and then Motley Crue and Great White. Great White was, had got a huge record deal at the time. Who else? Wasp.
Yeah.
All those guys were kind of all from that area. It seemed like they're from that area.
Yeah.
Once they started getting, deals, then everybody was just converging on that Sunset Strip and trying to make it happen. And I was too. And I was always trying to level up,
Of course.
We were trying to get a little bit better band, and I dropped out of, that little band Mutiny, and they were great guys, but I felt like we were stagnant and
sure, yeah.
And we were all just, jockeying to try to get out, man.
Of course.
We just wanted to get out.
So that's got to be a real radical change.
I ended up in a band with.
I'm sorry, I was going to say it's so radical going from being like in a club band into Great White, having a guitar tech and all the things that go along with that. It's a whole step up, huh?
Oh yeah. Sure. It happened quickly, but I think approach that they liked is that I understood, and I was going to college, I was studying music, but I was studying business as well. I was, whatever. And I realized that it's a business. There's a lot of money going on. And my dad was like, look, he'd come to these video shoots and look around and go, there's 6 figures of, money flying around here, and so you're not late. You don't be late, and don't come, wasted, and, make sure you look good. Yeah. So, we're there. You realize that there's a responsibility there.
Well,
I'm glad you sort of had that head on. That's very rare. Everybody else sort of just dives in with both feet, fall flat on your face with all this kind of, because as soon as you have success, everything else comes with it, all the good and the bad.
I pretty much went full on to drugs and drinking pretty hard.
Right. Yeah, really. Which is
no.
Well, thankfully you're still here. You're still here with us. You're doing fine. You're alive and well. That's the important thing.
There were a couple of moments. That's
yeah,
sure.
Of course. Well, there has to be. Those are called learning.
Jack is one of the best.
Oh,
one of the best. One of the. Yeah, man.
Wow,
dude.
I bet.
There were some crazy times with that cat.
I can only imagine.
And still, we have a good time now still.
Of course, yeah. So how many years are you, because I know it's quite a span, because the real height of the band, you're there for it. You're there for the headlining and all that kind of, they kind of did all the grunt work, and then you come in and kind of like just ride it out, like in the A game for several years.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had slugged it out, on a major label and then they went down to an indie label.
Right.
And they did. I mean, they did some wonderful work, and it was fortuitous, no doubt about it. But I knew that. But like I said, along with that comes a lot of responsibility, and now that you're in, you better not be the reason they don't do as good.
Good point.
They better do better.
Good point. Yeah, you don't want to be the reason why everything
starts. You don't want to be that guy.
Exactly.
That guy joined and
it was way worse. Yeah. Yeah. That would be terrible. But yeah, so then how many years are you in Great White before you finally leave the group? Because I know you left the group and went on to be successful in another form, in a whole other world. But how many years of Great White did you put in initially?
Years. Band is when hot, and you've got hits. They are going to work you. There's not a millisecond that you're allowed to yourself. You are going to work. They're going to fly you wherever you got to be, and you're going to be always doing promo, always being on. And for those 5 years, it was intense, man. There was no breathing room. There just was not. You're constantly on the move, constantly making records, constantly writing, constantly promoting, doing stuff, and I'm surprised to this day when I go look at some of that stuff. I really am surprised at the level of quality. It was really well done. We really did do good job under those conditions, under duress. The band was always good and tight. Jack was just stellar.
Oh yeah, top of his game.
Just stunning.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens after that? Oh yeah,
wow.
Go on. Yeah, no, he was a monster in his day for sure. I mean, still is. I mean, the fact that Jack's still hitting the same notes is beyond me. Goes exactly, yeah. Well, now we're back, baby. We're back.
All right, man.
Let's so let's start with what happens after Great White.
I just got married, had some kids, babies, and decided then nobody wanted to hear that band or any of those bands really at that time. So it was rough, man.
It was a weird time, right?
Rough. Yeah. It was I was going to start telling a story about an audition that I had in that era that just it was just it's such a negative thing. So I'm not going to go there. But I ended up following another passion, which is I love computers. I really do. Things. I was kind of a computer geek too, and so I started to experiment with developing software.
Wow.
And that kind of thing, and I started a couple of little companies and had some failures, and but eventually I got it, and I ended up doing okay for a while there.
Wow, that's
I had
such
a company called
interesting.
Disc Factory.
It was called what?
Called Disc Factory.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
I co-founded that. We made millions and millions of discs for all kinds of bands all across the country. So it ended up being really quite about a 10-year run I had there. It was nice. And then I just missed music, I missed it so bad, and I wanted to play. And that's when I met your buddy Fitz.
That's right. That's right.
I started a show in Vegas called Monster Circus, and that was my foray back into music. And it was a good time. It was a good time to reintroduce that kind of music. It was just starting to come to a head. It's like, you know what? People were realizing that it's a good time. It was a fun time. And those folks, just like me, their kids were old enough where you could leave them with the babysitter and go out and have some fun and go to a concert again. And so that's what my show was about, Monster Circus. That was in Las Vegas.
Yeah, for those that don't know, that was like you had like Dee Snider, Rudy Sarzo from Whitesnake and Ozzy Osbourne, Fred Coury from Cinderella was in at one point, Bobby Rock from Nelson, and lots of things.
Oh,
who else was in that?
Yeah,
I'm trying
Bruce
to think.
Kulick.
Oh, John Corabi.
Bruce Cool.
Of course, Bruce was
John
in
Corabi.
Yeah. I was actually like, you guys were pretty
Love
ahead of
all
the
those
curve.
guys.
You guys are pretty ahead of the curve as far as the reintroduction of rock music. I think you guys must have been really the first show in Vegas doing like, AC/DC, all the kind of classic rock bands, and then doing basically music that you guys all, Led Zeppelin, all that kind of stuff. It seems to be pretty normal now, but at the time you guys were pretty ahead of that curve, I thought.
Yeah, and I really wanted to put a high production show around it. So we had a dance troupe,
Mm-hmm.
and we had these amazing acrobats and that whole, it was kind of like a Cirque du Soleil meets Sunset Strip. I guess.
Exactly. And it was at the Hilton, in the room that Elvis did back when he was out here, when he used to be called the International. Yeah, the International Hotel, that same stage, which is still there. That was really cool that you guys did that in that room.
Good vibe. Just did recently with Great White, with Jack Russell. We played at the Golden Nugget.
Right.
And they have Frank Sinatra's room, right?
Yeah.
And they still have his dressing room there.
That's right.
Just like they had, my dad would have just freaked.
I know. That's a big deal, dude. That's a big deal. So that was your foray back into rock and roll. How long is it before you sort of find your way back to Jack? And how did that come about? Jack Russell, that is.
Well, in around 2012, I was thinking that, Twice Shy, our big album together, was reaching its 25th anniversary or whatever it was. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get Jack and the other camp back together, since I maybe will be the glue for that. And so I thought it was a smart thing for us to do, and they should have done it. They should have. It was there was there would have been plenty of offers on the table at that time, but they just really are. They're not very friendly.
Well,
with
they
each
went.
other.
I mean, those guys went through some tough times, you know, during that whole period.
Yeah.
The fire, all that stuff, and I know that Mark carried on with his version and continues to carry on with his version. But I think those of us who are fans would love to see. You know, I saw first time I saw Great White was in '85, I think, opening for Judas Priest. You know, and I think. Yeah, and I think it was before you, you know what I mean? So I think it'd be really exciting to see those guys. I mean, well, you never know. Life is funny that way. You never know. So I understand if things aren't as, you know, everybody thinks we should all be living in the same house together, like we're the Beatles or something like that in Help, you know, but it's never like that. It's like, yeah. Stuff happens, and that's just the way it goes.
It gets complicated, and you know, I'm still hopeful. You know, I reach out every once in a while because we should probably do that before, you know, things happen and people cross the rainbow bridge, man.
I know no one's getting any younger. That's the difference, right? And I think I think a lot of people would be very excited and very happy to see that. So the interesting thing is you're back in with Jack playing guitar rather than bass. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I started off with him, you know, 2012 didn't happen. So, you know, I went and did something else for a while. And then he came back to me again in 2013, I guess it was, and asked if I would come out. And I was ready because I'd seen him out playing and I'd seen the band. And I thought, you know, this really is my legacy is my responsibility at the end of the day. And so, you know, I'm just watching other people do their thing with it and you know, make a living with it. I was like, geez, you know, I should probably be playing these songs. Some of them are mine.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, partly mine.
Absolutely, so yeah.
Get out there and tend to it. And so he asked me, and I said, yeah. So I came back, started playing bass again, and after a while, just, you know, it was kind of a, you know, mixing, revolving cast of guys, really, in a lot of ways. And so I ended up, you know, the guitar player was, you know, gone, and I just said, you know what, Jack, I should just play guitar, and I can do it. He didn't even remember that I could. So, so I had to show him some videos of me doing some crazy stuff at Ed Roman's guitar.
There you go.
Ed Roman.
In Las Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to demo guitars for Ed and do videos and stuff. It's all, you know, goofy, shreddy kind of things or whatever.
Hell yeah.
He was stunned. He was like, yeah, okay, you know, play guitar. Can you play harmonica? I'm like, yes. Yes.
Could you play harmonica?
Of course I can play. Of course. What do you mean?
No brainer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went off and learned how to play that little part there, right? And then he asked, "Can you play piano?" I'm like, "Oh,
of course I can."
Yeah. So now I do that. Sure, why not?
That's the trick, man.
Bling. Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun.
But that's actually a good lesson that you bring up. You know, it's say yes and then figure out how to do it. That's the trick. Yeah.
Yeah. Been doing it for years.
So let's take a minute and we'll wrap it up and talk about Shadow and the Thrill, because I'm so excited about this. At what point do you decide it's time for me to step up to the microphone, time for me to show this sort of, you know, a soulful, organic, bluesy thing that you're so great at, that I can't believe it took us this long to finally hear?
Man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's well, there was an album project that Jack was doing that it just, you know, I just wasn't I don't know, it just didn't gel, I guess. And so I had some songs and that I thought were really good. So I just said, I thought, you know, if this doesn't fit for this project, then I'm going to do it myself.
Sure.
And I gathered 5 songs that I thought were my very best that I've been holding, that I've been squirreling away, you
Sure.
know. And I apologize, it's getting dark here, but the clouds are rolling in.
It makes for a more moody experience. I like it.
So I took my 5 best, and I've always loved playing with this one drummer. His name is Brent Arsenet, and
Yeah.
he lives in New Orleans, now. And I said, okay, man, I'm packing up the fiddles, and I'm going to fly to New Orleans. And we started working in a studio there called the Music Shed.
Cool.
And with a guy named Jack Millet, producing and engineering, and just knocked them out. They came out great.
Absolutely.
And we decided we should make it a full album. So went back again. It took a couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's been a long road, man. But they came out great. And then we had Sylvia Massey
That's right.
mix, and I've worked with her before. A band I had out here in LA called Anna's Brother.
Okay.
And those songs came out great, and she's wonderful. So we got her on board, and so it just turned out really, it turned out special.
I'm glad, honestly, I think it was
all
hot.
I wanted. I just wanted,
Sorry, I cut you off. I think it was high time for you to kind of finally put you down on tape, and finally put you down on video and put your thing down. Because like you say, the Rainbow Bridge and all that, it's coming, baby, someday. But it's good. It's great that you documented what you do. And I'm hoping that this is just step 1. I'm hoping there's a Shadow and the Thrill 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and everything else. So,
I hope so too. Yeah, I just you're in the same boat as I am, and you've got kids, and I just wanted to make sure that I left something behind that I thought was excellent.
Absolutely.
And that's not a word that I take lightly.
Yeah, I know what
I've been around excellence.
Sure.
With Great White during that time, watching your pal Slash from the best seat in the house, right? And
right.
I learned a lot from him in just that short time, quite frankly.
Hey, let's talk about that just really briefly, if you don't mind, before we go. You filled in for me. My eye fell out in the middle of Europe. Yeah, I had a detached retina, and so we got off that leg. We went out. There was another leg coming up. I believe you went to like Asia. Did you go to Australia as well? I can't remember. But anyway, so you stepped in on bass and all the vocals that you can kill as well, and you just crushed it. There was no other call. The only call was like, call Tony, immediately call Tony, and that was awesome that you did that.
What a absolute honor to do that.
Yeah.
For you and for him and for myself, it was a ball, man. We had a great time. It certainly was a challenge, but you know what? That's what makes it fun, and I think that's why we do it.
Exactly.
That's why we're out there.
Exactly.
It takes a certain kind of character to jump up in front of all them people and do this thing, and that's so that's what we have in common, I'm sure.
Well, it's nice to be kind of included in your category. If you put me there, I'm thrilled. But anyway, it's been amazing hanging with you, brother. You go back to your life, and like I say, I'm stoked that the Shadow and the Thrill is out. I can't wait. I think you should do 100 of those. And I can't wait to see you with Jack or whoever out there whenever we can finally all get back out there.
Yes, sir. Coming to a town near you. So I hope you pop out. We get to hang out a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right.
We'll hang out in Frank Sinatra's dressing room.
Yes, sir.
All right. Love you, brother.
All right, man. Thanks again.
No problem at all. Take care.
All right, dude. See ya.
Bye-bye.